And now we are live. So good morning, everybody. How are you guys?
Good morning and welcome to the Angel and Tina Morning Show.
Good morning. Good morning. We are Angel and Tina and our fabulous guests in the studio with us today, Alec Stern and George Chanos. How you guys doing?
Great.
Wow.
All right. So tell us where you guys are coming in from. George, where are you? Sorry.
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas.
Right?
Nice.
Sorry, I talked right over you. I apologize. And how about you, Alec?
I'm on the other coast on Boston, Massachusetts.
Okay. And I think we got all four time zones again.
We do, right? So thank you, George, for getting up early. Are you a morning person anyways?
No.
No.
He's like, no.
No.
Me and Angel are not morning people either, but hey.
No, 7 a.m. 7 a.m. is a little early.
Yeah, we apologize every time we have somebody on the West Coast who has to get up. They're like, especially during now, right? They've been sleeping in a little bit more. You have to really have to get up because of commuting. And so when they get up, they're like, yeah, it's the earliest I've been up for a long time. So George, sleeping, we're grateful for you.
Thank you for getting up at the butt crack of dawn.
But Alec, it's East Coast for you, so it's not so bad. Or is this early for you?
No, I'm an early go to bed late, early riser. So it's not.
Are you? So we had somebody on just the other day. She says she only gets like 4 hours of sleep a night. Is that you?
4 to 5, yeah.
Yeah.
Really? And you can live off of that, huh?
I can do it for a couple of weeks, and then I need 1 day to sleep in, and then I'm good again.
Wow, 4 or 5 hours. Could you imagine just working?
No, I'm a sleeper, Alec. And so every time I know there are just certain folks out there they just don't need. You can go to bed late, you get up early, and you're just going all day long. I'm a sleeper. I need lots of sleep every single night, or I get cranky. But I'm not a morning person. But we did this because Tina's on the East Coast, and so in order for it to be a morning show, we still needed to fall into that
morning
hour, but not be too early. Lots of science behind this.
There's a lot. Yeah, it was a lot of science. George, what about you? Are you a morning person? So you're not. Oh, you said you're not a morning person, but do you go to bed late too?
I go to bed late. I work into the night.
Yeah. So George and I are going to do a midnight show.
Yeah.
You can do the late night show with George and Alec.
I have a friend, and maybe do you guys know Shay Brown? He does 11 p.m. Eastern time, isn't it? 11 p.m. Eastern, 11 to 1 a.m. It's a 2-hour show that starts at 11 p.m. Eastern time. Have you watched it? Have you been up on it? Have you been to the show?
Where is it at?
It's
Shay, C-H-E, Shay Brown.
Shay Brown. I mean, and he is a dynamo at 11 o'clock at night. So yeah, you guys could do
hey, this is Tina.
No, right? But when we think about broadcasting and creating our audience, there's always somebody who you think, okay, you've got to follow the norms, right? Normal time periods. But there's always a crowd that would prefer something late at night, might prefer something on a weekend, or who isn't watching what everybody else is watching. And so it's a good time to kind of capture that niche audience and really dominate in that space. So I think it's awesome that he does it.
So one thing, the West Coast, some of the West Coast folks want to do stuff like I did last Friday night, 10 p.m. West Coast time.
Oh, so, right. Yes, that's really late for you. It's midnight.
1 a.m. was the start time. That was the start.
You're like, yeah.
So did you play? Did you participate?
Oh, yeah. I'm good. I'm good with that.
He's like, yeah, of course I did. I slept from 3 a.m. till 4:45. I was good.
my daughter is a night owl, and she always has been, right? The middle of the night, that's where her juices flow, and she gets her best ideas, and she just can't sleep. And you know what? I just think that some of us our circadian rhythm is different like that, right?
My middle son is like that too. He never even since he was like 1 or 2 years old, would stay up in the middle of the night. He would just sit there in his crib, and now he's 21 and he still stays awake all night.
So I'll give you my basic theory, which is no science behind this really. But these REM cycles of 90 minutes. So I'll calculate 90 plus 90 plus 90, and then put however long it took me to fall asleep. And I'll set my alarm to wake up at the end of a cycle. So if I got 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, I've just gotten into a rhythm where I wake up rested. Usually you wake up in the middle of a cycle, you're really tired. And I just, when, starting different companies, we're around the clock. And so that just helped, just so I wouldn't be as exhausted if I woke up in the middle of a cycle.
Now that is true. Yeah. Waking up in the middle of a cycle will mess you up. But if you go in between, it's not so bad.
I have my Fitbit that I can have wake me up in the end of a cycle. I need to start doing that.
Start doing that, because the difference of 15 minutes on either end, like, you calculate it out, 15, 20, 30 minutes will make a big difference.
Alec, I don't know if you've been watching the show, but I suffer from insomnia. So there's some nights, for like 9 days, a couple of days ago, I couldn't sleep. So I started doing the hypnosis thing in my ears and listening to them every night. And so I've been doing it for like a week, and I knock out right away. So I'm going to start doing that now.
That is awesome. Okay. So George, you're in Vegas. How has quarantining been for you? What have you been up to, and how have you adjusted to working from home?
Well, it's, obviously it's a huge event for all of us globally. And so it's been concerning, but we've been productive. So we've tried to be responsible, stay home as much as possible. We've gone out for groceries and, obviously essentials, but we've stayed pretty close to home.
Are you in your home? You
Yeah.
look like you have an extensive
You look like you're in an art gallery.
That's my house. That's I'm actually in our dining room.
I love it. It looks like an art gallery back there, right?
Yeah.
It does. Yeah. So how long have you been an art collector?
A long time. I started painting when I was probably 10. And so I've been collecting pieces throughout my life.
Well, it's a fabulous backdrop, right? It almost looks like one of those Zoom virtual backdrops.
That's what I thought at first, but he wasn't moving. You know how you get pieces of you that are cut off?
No, it's real.
It's real. I know. I think we all now. You're hearing people say that this is real. Look, I can touch it. It's real, right? Yeah. Because some of those backdrops they look very real. How about you, Alec? How have you done during this pandemic and staying at home?
Yeah, it's been fine. I mean, I've been in the house now for 6 weeks straight, except for a pharmacy run or a food run. So it's given me a lot of time to step back out of the tactics of the day, and which we get on that hamster wheel, and to really focus on some strategy stuff. So breakthrough ideas and mentoring and working with a bunch of folks where we've been able to kind of help them go to the next level. And so,
are you getting Zoom? Are you getting quarantine fatigue?
No. Listen, so we could either focus on that concern. Like, I talk to friends, like, I can't believe I'm home again. I'm gonna okay, what'd you do yesterday? Stayed home. What'd you do today? Staying home. What are you doing tomorrow? Staying home. Get over it. Like, stop talking about it. It's just, that's the reality. And it's a must for us to get through this thing. So focus on other stuff. Focus on your sphere of influence and your business and, and all the people in your world that you haven't talked to in a while. So instead of social distancing and physical distancing, I'm saying long distancing. Like, get on the phone and call people you haven't talked to in a while. Yeah. Your old classmates, your old mentors, your old teachers, like whoever that is in your world. And so in doing so, I've got back in touch with a lot of people, and we've been able to, collaborate on some stuff and get some validation on some other things. And so it's been great.
I love it.
I think Alex makes a great point about focus, that we can choose to focus on the challenge and how challenging this is for us, or we can choose to focus on the opportunities that it creates for us, right? And it does create some magnificent opportunities, actually. And so if you focus on that, and if you look for that, you can use this to your advantage. You can use the time to your advantage to, perhaps maybe, relax a little more, read a little more, learn a language, do something during this time that you have, this additional free time that you have. Use it wisely to come out of this better than you came into it. And that's all about how you're focusing and how you're looking at it.
I love it. George, so what exciting project have you been working on during this time?
I'm working on my book, and I'm basically trying to create some awareness about the book, which is why I'm up at 7 a.m. to be on your show, is because I'm trying to create awareness for this new book. And yeah, exactly, Millennial Samurai. And
you should have showed the other one, man. The other one is like a piece of art.
Oh, thanks. The limited edition version.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's my big focus right now. I think it's very important and timely with what's going on in the world, and that people need guidance and direction and inspiration. And I believe that particular book is a toolkit for the 21st century. It talks all about mindset and controlling the way that you think, and setting your intentions, and being positive, and having gratitude, and moving forward with optimism and hopefulness and aspiration, and doing what you need to do, raising your game, overcoming obstacles, finding opportunity in adversity. It's everything that we need to be thinking about today during a pandemic. So
it is. And we'll talk more about that too, George, during your
Angel, maybe I should have done that with my book, gave you a limited edition piece, so that, because so many people get my gratitude journal and are like, oh, I don't want to write in it. It's so pretty.
It's so pretty.
Maybe I should have gave two. Like, here's one for you to put up, and here's one for you to actually write in.
Right? How about you, Alec? What exciting project have you been working on during this time?
Sure. Well, first, as a millennial, I want to thank you for writing the book.
You're welcome. It's
and
not
a samurai.
Yeah. It's not just for millennials. It's for you too, Alec.
Okay. All right. Well, I consider myself a petite millennial. So, so I'm focused on a lot of things. I've in the past, co-founded 8 companies that have had 5 exits. Since then, I've now started up 5 other things that I'm co-founded in, and some getting into the day-to-day for like a year to build out the branding and the messaging and the marketing and the go-to-market, and then others, just from afar and here consulting as needed, mentoring as needed. So those have kept me busy. I also part of a venture fund, and we've got active two. We're in our 3rd raise for our 3rd fund, so we've got a lot of active companies where I assist in and try to help raise the water level for them, and then the rest of the time speaking. So about half my time on speaking, and so I thought that might lessen with all the in-person events, getting rescheduled, but I'm doing 5 to 10 on average a week, live summits, lives or interviews, podcasts. So that's been.
So you've been pretty slacking during this time. You haven't really been doing it,
I have. I've really kicked back. Yeah.
You've been slacking big time. Kick back and relaxing. Binge watching on Netflix.
Yeah, it's so funny.
That was a long list. A long list.
Yeah, so it's a lot, but it's all good. That's how I roll though. So everything, it's got to keep busy, and I'm an idea guy, and I just bring things to life. So keeps me busy.
All right. Well, I'm going to we're going to get to know our guests a little bit better today. I'm going to start with you, Alec. I'll read your bio. We'll give you a few minutes just to get to know you a little bit better. George, you can chime in. This is very interactive. And then we'll do.
If George, if you don't like anything she says, you can correct it.
I will.
All right.
All right. Alec Stern is an entrepreneur, speaker, mentor, and investor. He's become known as America's startup success expert for performing hundreds of keynote speeches worldwide, for his popular sessions at top conferences like Secret Knock, CEO Space International, City Summit, Power Team International, and Habitude Warrior. You can see he lays low pretty good, right?
All right.
He's the co-founder or founding team member of 8 startups with 5 exits, 2 IPOs, and 3 acquisitions. As a primary member of Constant Contact, a little service you may be familiar with. He's a member of their founding team. He was one of the original 3 who started the company in his attic. So I want to say thank you, because I think you just transformed the way entrepreneurs stay connected to their clients. He was with the company for 18 years, from startup to IPO to a 1.1 billion with a B billion acquisition. He was selected to the Influence 100 Authority list by Influence magazine. And this year, he is a 2-time Visionary Award winner at top conferences for his success as an entrepreneur and for his work in helping startups and entrepreneurs. That's a pretty impressive bio for a millennial, Alec.
I know. You're so young.
It's what's keeping me young. I mean, I'm actually, I'm so young, but, it's aging me with all that work,
There you go. There you go.
You can get a lot done when you're only sleeping 4 or 5 hours a night and you're matching your rhythms.
So Angel, we need to maybe go to 4 or 5. She's like, no.
Right?
Yeah. 5 hours. We're all going to start 5 hours sleep.
So I love, we all love this story. We're all super familiar, obviously, with Constant Contact and what it's done for keeping us connected. But it's really the whole idea that you started that in your attic. And I think right now, there are probably the next really fabulous ideas are being developed in somebody's garage, attic, and somebody's dining room table as their home being quarantined. What are some advice or tips that you have if somebody's got this idea, to run with it? What would you say to them?
Sure. Yeah. The first thing is, so is my co-founder's attic. I live at the top of a brownstone, and so above me is a roof deck. So yeah, he had an attic, and in Boston, if we were in California, we would have done it in a garage. But since we were in Boston, we didn't have a garage. We had an attic. So
use what you have, right? Use what you have. Yeah. Use what you have.
Right. So exactly. So meetings, the important meetings were either at my dining table, or we'd go to friends that had law firms and accounting firms and beg to use their boardroom. And so I'm like, wow, this is like really impressive. And then we'd be waiting till we got kicked out.
Oh, that's a good idea that we can do.
Yeah. And especially in downtown Boston, overlooking the harbor, someone come in for a meeting. We're like, oh, we're going to be downtown. Let's meet. We have a place to meet. And they're like, wow, this is impressive. And friends, the friends would make sure
they're like, yeah, it's just one of our offices.
Service, there were muffins, there were, there's coffee. And they're like, this is incredible. And we're like, we only have an hour. We got to get going.
Time's a ticking.
And then people would look in like, who's in this boardroom? Who's that? We haven't seen that. Is that someone that works here? But nonetheless, do what you have to do to I guess dress and impress. So
right.
Well, you've got a lot of startups, a lot of businesses. Are there some key things that you look for that like, okay, this is an idea I want to run with? Yeah. So if we step back for a moment about ideas. So like when I speak, I'll ask show of hands how many people think you're an innovator, and 5 to 10% of the people raise their hand. And then I'll say, well, how many of you on any given day, week, or month you use a product and think, well, this could have been better. Imagine if we had this feature, or you have a service, delivery, and in that service experience, you're like, God, that could be done better. And so 85% of all companies already existed, and someone's just executing it better. And the other 10 or 15% are ideas that weren't in existence before, like Constant Contact and Uber and Airbnb and Facebook and so on. So the bottom line is, if you have an idea, and this is a perfect time, we all have ideas, start noodling on it, and start potentially running it by other folks. Maybe someone else is like, oh my God, I love that idea. And they jump in and want to help, and you start the sort of the flywheel of getting going with that idea. If you do anything with your idea, you're an innovator. So you've now been elevated to innovator status, and now you just have to do something with it. And so we all have ideas. And so I've talked to a lot of people during the time while we have more time. And the first thing is really, really know what it is that you want to offer and who you want to offer to. So everyone says, well, small business. Well, you could define small business as 10 ways. And if we go around, we'd all have a different definition of number of employees, revenue, number of customers, and so on. Maybe made the geographic focus, and so really understand exactly who your target market is. And once you know that, go out and talk to them. And now it's perfect time. So I've spent a lot of time working with small businesses and with some new ideas. I've asked to talk with friends and say, hey, do you know any small businesses that I could talk to during this time and get some feedback? And so again, don't go to people people you've bought from, family, go to total strangers, because they'll give you brutal, honest feedback.
And so once you go out and you get feedback, the first thing is you don't show them something. Hey, can I show you something? See if you're interested. Ask them what their goals and objectives are. What's their vision for their business in the next 5 years? And they'll tell you things like, I want to stay top of mind with my customers. I want to drive more revenue. I want to get my customers to come back in. I want new people, to come in, and so they'll give you some of the roadmap of either they want to save time, they want to save money, or they want to increase revenue. And so once you understand those goals and objectives, you then present your idea to them and say, imagine if I provided you the following service or the following product, what do you think? And then you'll get feedback. And when you see them get wide-eyed, like, if you can do that for me, that'd be incredible. And you get additional feedback from others. And that will fuel you to want to sort of bring this thing forward, because what's going to happen initially is you're going to go tell people that might help you in one way or another. So go to get a loan or talk to an angel or a venture capitalist for not you, Angel, but an angel investor or an angel or a venture capitalist, or someone to raise money, or someone to be a strategic advisor, maybe a strategic partner, and you're going to get a lot of no's. And so you'll be fueled by the fact that your target market has told you that it's something that they want. And then the no's really, to me, mean not now. And so from being a little kid till now, I never hear no. And when I would ask for ice cream, I get no. And I just knew I had to do certain chores or really kind of just, buddy up to my mom for a little bit. And then by the end of that day, I got ice cream. Well, so today in business, it's the same thing. Like, focusing on a no meaning not now is that build the relationship, understand why they said no now, and build the relationship. And those no's convert to yeses over time. So don't assume it's a bad thing. It's just a temporary thing.
You know what, Alec, you just described my son to a T. He was little. And I tell this story of how he, I kept telling him no, he wanted fruit snacks, right? And he would come back to me, he wouldn't argue or anything, fuss or whine, just come back later, right? Can I have some fruit snacks? And eventually he just wore me down. And I tell this story, I'm like, I'm the worst mom in the world. Like, he just learned, but he would just come back and I'm like, well, how about now? Maybe the answer is different now. And he was like 2 years old. He was little, and he has just always been like that. You've just given me hope.
Listen, I worked it. I'd be like, hey, Mom, I made my bed. I cleaned my room. I put the laundry in the laundry basket. I made your bed. An hour later, I'm like, can I have ice cream again? And she's like, oh, sure, sweetie.
That was what happened to me. Oh my gosh. And we
made your bed. I love it.
That would be Michael. That would totally be Michael. And so now I know he's going to be, this great innovator, and he's brilliant. And I just knew he was smarter than I was from.
Well, if he did that thing to you the other day on Mother's Day, then he's an innovator.
Oh yeah. So Alec, he comes in, it's on Mother's Day, it's on Sunday. And he says, Mom, do you want to help me? I'm building these towns on Minecraft. He's like, do you want to help me? I need to create the yards. Do you want to help me with some landscape ideas? And I thought, that's a really odd request. Like, you want me to come help you with landscape ideas? And he's like, well, yeah, you have some good ideas. I'm like, okay, all right. I don't know what I can contribute, but I went and, we're coming up with all these ideas for these yards. Well, then later at dinner, he's like, well, I figured I needed to spend some time with my mom on Mother's Day. And so that's why I asked you to come in so we could do something together.
That's great.
That makes it, because I was so confused. Like, why would he want me? Why was he asking me? But okay, but that was his way.
That was his thought process. How can I hang out with my mom
and still play my game?
And still play my game at the same time. I got it.
That's the perfect time to ask for ice cream.
Yes. And he would. Had he wanted ice cream, he totally would have. I love it. So, Alec, I know our paths keep crossing, and we keep seeing each other at all these fabulous events, and I love what you're doing. How can we how can we be of support? What are you looking for? What are you looking for from the world right now?
Sure. Yeah. I'm usually the giver, caretaker person than the taker, but although caretaker, I could just use the taker part. Yeah. I mean, I guess, certainly have a lot to share, paying it forward. So, if there are other events or podcasts that make sense to talk to small businesses and entrepreneurs, I'm always game for that, both, in person or certainly virtual today. And then I've also just formally been mentoring and assisting. I call them breakthrough mentor moments, but working with folks that maybe plateaued or want to take the business to the next level. So I've been doing some mentoring and consulting to assist there. So happy to help anyone that needs it.
How would you like people to connect with you?
Yeah, the best is just if you go to my website, which is as everyone always says, it's under future development, I guess. But just Alec, ALEC, AlecSpeaks.com.
AlecSpeaks.com. I love it.
AlecSpeaks.com, and they could learn more about me, and then there's places to check to follow me on the different social channels, and then need a mentor, need a speaker, they can just connect in.
Connect, because Alec speaks, right? And he's been speaking 5 to 10 Zooms or summits or podcasts or webinars. I thought too, Alec, that once the live events shut down, that we were going to have all this free time. What were we going to do? We're so used to speaking. I had over 20 events get canceled between March, April, and May. But it has not slowed down at all. It has just been replaced with virtual events, which is a blessing. But like Tina said, like our chair never gets a break. It like just squishes, and I never give it a chance to boom back. And I haven't had any pants on that didn't have an elastic waistband.
Keep that going.
In 6 weeks, right? I'm wearing pants.
Elastic waistband. That's a nice touch. Yeah.
Yes, elastic waistbands is all I've had on for
on real pants in 6 weeks and over 6 weeks.
But we did. We were fortunate. We bought a Peloton back in February. So right before this hit, I had my 50th bike ride yesterday on my Peloton. I had no idea I was getting ready to hit that milestone. So it was a big surprise and a treat.
Right. Good for you.
Me. Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to introduce George next, and I've got George's book, and he's going to talk about his big impact that he is making with this book, The Millennial Samurai. There is a special edition that sorry, George, I don't have it sitting
I have it. It's over there.
But this is such an amazing book, and when you hear the story behind it. Actually, I was looking for your bio in here, George, because I thought it would be on the back, but it's in the front. It's in the front, right? So I'm going to find it because this is worthwhile for you guys to hear about this amazing.
And let me tell you that the display of this book was amazing. Like opening up this whole thing, it was like simply amazing. The intro card in there, and you signed it to everybody. I was like, oh my gosh. I loved it.
Keep talking.
I'll send you one. You have to, Alec, DM me your address and I'll send you one.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it was a whole gift. I mean, display.
It was beautiful. Right. If you look around on Facebook, everybody gets one, videotapes it, and shares it because it's such a beautiful.
Oh, I did.
Yes. Okay, so George Chanos, Esquire, served as Nevada's 31st Attorney General. He administered Nevada's Department of Justice and acted as the state's chief legal officer and advisor. While serving as Nevada's Attorney General, he successfully argued the case Wharton versus Bakhtin before the Supreme Court of the United States. And prior to serving as Nevada's Attorney General, he had a distinguished legal career representing individual and corporate clients on all matters relating to the growth and management of their businesses. He is an author, a speaker, and a business consultant. He has served on numerous boards, both civic and corporate. He also is the father and an uncle. His daughter, Alexandra, was attending the University of Nevada when this book was written. And his nephew, David, a graduate of San Diego State University. And they were the millennials who inspired George to get out and write this book. George, I'm super excited to have you here with us today.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here. I appreciate your having me.
Okay, so let's talk about this. When we talk about this book, Millennial Samurai, it was about you helping to prepare these young ones for the future. And now more than ever, you are making an impact on all of our future. You're very concerned with helping us get prepared for the future. So I'm going to let you give the story about how this came to be, and then just some tips for what we should be focusing on next.
Sure. So, like Alec, we all have a background. My background has been in advising primarily corporate clients and high net worth individuals. When Alex was pursuing his entrepreneurial adventures and in the attic or in the garage, and he'd go to visit the boardroom, I was one of the young lawyers that was in the boardroom. Right. So that's where I worked every day from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. in one of those high-rise office buildings in one of those big boardrooms. I worked for one of the largest firms in the world, and we were called the Dobermans. So I was a young Doberman. And so I represented a wide range of clients, including some governors and some billionaires. And most of my life was spent solving their complex problems. And so I became a complex problem solver. Malcolm Gladwell in his book Outliers talks about if you do something for more than 10,000 hours and you have a certain amount of talent, you develop a capacity in that area, an expertise in that area. So I've spent far more than 10,000 hours. I've probably billed 60,000 hours in solving complex problems over the course of my life. And my focus shifted in 2012 when I had a heart attack. And my daughter was 16 years old at the time. I had a nephew who was 21. And I was concerned that if I died, I would take all my knowledge with me, and that I thought that would be a shame. And so as I put my affairs in order, I wanted to also try to prepare my daughter and my nephew and my family for the future. So I began to write a letter to my daughter. And because I like to write, I'm sitting at my laptop, and after a month or two, I've looked down and I've got over 100 pages. And I realized this isn't a letter, this is a book. And I thought, hey, there's an idea. I'll turn it into a book. And I'll leave her the book. So that became my first book. That was a book called Seize Your Destiny. So Seize Your Destiny, a roadmap to success, is a book for young people ages 8 to 18. She was 16 at the time. Anyone could read it and anyone could get a lot out of it, but that's who I think is the primary target for that book. If you're a parent and you have a child that's under 18 years old, you want to get them Seize Your Destiny, okay? After I wrote that, I felt, all right, I've done what I set out to do. I've downloaded my knowledge over the prior 30 years, and I've left it as a legacy to my daughter, and she can refer to it if she ever needs advice on communication or relationships or negotiation or all the things that are covered in Seize Your Destiny, which are the essentials, essentially the essential building blocks for a happy, successful, and meaningful life. And as I finished that, a number of things occurred to me. The first was that I enjoyed the process. I was using the skill set that I had used throughout my life to guide others. And I was writing and I was researching. And so I was happy with the process and enjoyed the process. The other thing that I realized was that I had not talked to my daughter in that letter about the future, what the future would be like. I had talked to her about what I had learned through my life that she needed to know in order to succeed in her life. But I hadn't actually looked at what her life was going to be like over the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. How would the world change, right? Would there be pandemics? Would there be, what would there be, right? So I began looking at that. And I began looking at the future through the eyes of a 30-year veteran lawyer, high-end lawyer, who's used to solving complex problems. And my interest shifted from the business area that Alec has been talking about, which has been my life for, throughout my professional career. My focus has shifted more towards issues that I consider bigger social issues, issues that are affecting every human being on the planet, and all of us. So things like COVID-19, things like artificial intelligence, things like advances in genomics, 3D printing, fab labs. How are all these things, guns, economic inequality, racism, how are all of these issues going to affect our lives? How are they going to affect my daughter's life? How are they going to affect your lives, my life, Alec's life? So I began thinking about more and more and researching and learning about all of these issues, and tried to approach them from a complex problem solving perspective, right? So how do you solve complex problems? I've employed what I call a helicopter perspective, actually what David Ogilvy in his book, Ogilvy on Advertising, called a helicopter perspective. And essentially it's an ability to rise above a problem and to see the entire landscape, right? To see all the various facets of the problem, all the various perspectives of the problem, right? So when I would have clients come into me, typically they will tell you their side of the story, right? They'll tell you how they view the challenge or the dilemma, right? But in order to solve the problem, the ultimate resolution of the problem is going to also require an analysis of how others that they are involved in see the problem, right? And so you need that helicopter perspective in order to see all of the various issues. Who are the interested parties? How do they fit in? How do the various direct parties fit in? What are their needs and wants and desires? What are their opportunities and limitations? What are their strengths and weaknesses? And analyzing all of that information to solve whatever the issue is, right? To find a better business model, to solve an existing conflict between partners, whatever the challenge is, I would approach it with this helicopter perspective. So I then use that same perspective in looking at the world ahead of us. And I looked at the next 5, 10, 15, 20, and 30 years and tried to analyze what trends would we experience? What challenges would we experience? What opportunities would be available? And I began to write about these things. And that's Millennial Samurai. That's the book that you were showing, the white book, that's Millennial Samurai, all right? Millennial Samurai is a toolkit for the 21st century. So if I were to drop you off in the Amazon rainforest and I were going to give you a duffel bag, there are certain things that I would put in that duffel bag, right? And you can imagine the types of things that might go into that duffel bag, right? So there would be water, there would be a compass, there would be some kind of knife or cutting instrument, right? These types of things would go into a survival kit for the Amazon. Well, if I'm going to leave my daughter on the sidewalk in the middle of the 21st century, and I want to hand her a toolkit, a duffel bag, this is what I am handing my daughter, okay? This is what I believe that she needs. And I'm more proud of this book than having served as Attorney General or having successfully argued to a unanimous verdict before the United States Supreme Court. This book will change more people's lives. So when I was Nevada's Attorney General, I represented 3 million people. And today I want to represent 30 million people. I want to try to change as many lives as I possibly can. I don't, rather than spending my time, I spent my time one-on-one with people for most of my life, right? And I still mentor young people and certain younger millennial business owners that I'm trying to help. But most of my time, so when I say, I'm spending all my time on my book, most of my time is to create awareness about this particular book, this particular toolkit, because I've already spent 2 years developing this toolkit and more than that, researching it. And I believe it's an important work. I believe it's something that should be in every family's library. I believe that every young person should have it. We have 17.5 million fatherless children in the United States. We have 4 million homeless children in the United States. 43% of US households are fatherless, okay? 40% of young males age 18 to 36 are still living with their parents, okay? Something like 78% of the American public has less than $1,000 in savings. Okay. We have a lot of problems in this country. We have a lot of issues. 50% of young Black males are arrested by the time they're 23. 40% of young white males are arrested by the time they're 23. You know, people need guidance and direction, right? And by lifting these people who need mentorship and who need guidance and direction, it lifts all of us. It creates a better society, a healthier, more prosperous, safer society for all of us, right? So rather than counsel individuals, I'm spending my time counseling broad sections of the public. And I'm 62 years old. I've spent my life making money. I don't need to chase money anymore. I need purpose. I need to feel that I have spent my life in a way that is worthwhile. And, you know, we all want to live a meaningful life. We all want to make the most of our one and only life. And there are many ways that you can go about that. You know, some things, and it's sort of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? So if you've satisfied certain needs, you're able to move on to other needs, right? If you have not satisfied some of your financial needs or some of your business goals and objectives, then that's going to be your focus. But if you've satisfied that, and if you're now looking for something more in, you know, and there is more, there's more to life than money. And, you know, I don't need more suits. I don't need more cars. I don't need a bigger house. I've got everything I need. And so now really what I need is to know that when I'm lying on my deathbed, I have a smile on my face because I can say to myself, you know something, you did the most with your one and only life. And for me, that is not spending the next 30 years chasing money. It's spending the next 30 years empowering people who will go on and play it forward and who will do what I'm doing and who will empower others. And I believe that's the solution to our humanity's problems, because I don't believe that the government will save us. And I don't believe that the public education system that was created at the turn of the century for the Industrial Revolution, not the technological revolution, I don't believe that that will save us. I believe that we need to save ourselves and we need to save each other. And I believe that we do that by empowering people. And so that's what I'm doing. And I'm looking for others to join that movement. The book is Millennial Samurai. I'm giving away 1 million free copies on millennialsamurai.com. I want you to read it. I want you to go there now and download it, millennialsamurai.com. And I want you to talk about it. I want you to tell people what you think about it. And if you love it, I want you to share it. I want you to share it with everyone that you know, because that's how you can play a role in playing this forward and helping us all to empower other people. So to me, this is a serious mission. I think that we are in very uncharted waters. I've been looking beyond the horizon my entire life. I've been looking and spotting red flags my entire life. I've made a profession out of it at the highest levels of the legal profession. And I can tell you, there are some red flags out there. And there is a tsunami, a technological tsunami on the horizon. This pandemic is just the beginning. This pandemic we'll get through. In the next 18 months, we'll get through it and we'll be stronger than ever. But you know, interestingly, following the 1917 pandemic, a few years later in 1929, there was the Great Depression, right? So things happen over time, and they are happening at an increasing and accelerated rate, right? The rate of change, the rate of evolution. I read an interesting article recently talking about Moore's Law. Ray Kurzweil, the head of artificial intelligence for Google, he's made some amazing predictions over the years, and 70 to 80% of them have come true. Kurzweil predicts that artificial intelligence will exceed human intelligence by 2029. That's 10 years away. That's a tsunami. Stephen Hawking, theoretical physicist Stephen Hawking, said that that will be the greatest event in human history. the greatest event in human history, greater than fire, greater than the wheel, greater than the internet, greater than space travel. We are living in the most extraordinary period in human history. And we will witness this event and what follows it. Kurzweil tells us that not only will that happen by 2029, and Bill Gates says Kurzweil knows more about this than anyone he knows, right? So he could be off by a decade. But the bottom line is it's going to happen. It's going to happen during your lifetime. Kurzweil goes on to predict that by the 2040s, 20 to 30 years away, artificial intelligence will not be our equal. It will be a billion times more capable than human intelligence. Now, friends, if that's not a tsunami, then I don't know what is, right? So,
right? Like, it's so hard, George, like when you start sharing these statistics and this, like, to imagine like what that's going to be like. And it's happening at this incredibly rapid pace. I haven't finished Millennial Samurai, but I have read, I started to read it like from like beginning, like cover to cover. And then I just find myself just opening it up and just reading like little snippets and chapters at a time, because how many chapters are in here? 100 and something?
182. So it's broken down in today we have shorter attention spans and less patience, right? When I was young, I used to have to go to the library to look something up, right? Right? That's
you remember the card catalog?
Yeah. My daughters never had to go to a library to look.
People don't know what we're talking about, Angel.
No, because all she does is go on her phone, right? And your phone has 100,000 times the computing power that NASA had in 1969. Okay. Well, Kurzweil says that in 30 years, you're not going to have to go to your phone. You're not going to have to go to your phone because your neural cortex will be connected to the cloud. And you'll just think of the answer to a question, or think of a question and the answer will come to you. Okay. Now, that sounds like science fiction, but people that are the world's leading futurists tell us that if someone is talking about the future and it doesn't sound like science fiction, they don't know what they're talking about, right? The future very much is going to be like science fiction, right? It's going to be remarkable. It's going to be incredible. The human brain does not have the capacity to even understand or imagine what a intelligence that is a billion times our own intelligence means. Yeah. We don't know what that means. We can't fathom that, right? So it's very much going to be like science fiction. All right. Now, going back to Alec's early point at the beginning of this whole interview about focus, right? Now, you can focus, if you choose to, on how daunting this all seems, right? And how overwhelming the challenges seem, right? Or you can focus on the opportunities, right? You are living in the most incredible period in human history. Congratulations. Instead of fretting about it, instead of worrying about it, embrace it, right? Leaders don't ignore problems and they don't run from problems. They run at problems, okay? So that's what I've done my whole life. I've run at problems. So when I see something like this, I'm actually excited about it. I want to figure it out. And so that's what I've been trying to do. And that's what I believe I've done in Millennial Samurai.
You have absolutely, George. And I love that you're giving away a million copies if you go to millennialsamurai.com. And even, George, as you are sitting here, and Alec, you are sitting here, I'm thinking the two of you together, when we're, with all these innovation and ideas and forward thinking and expansion, like, it is no coincidence that the two of you are here together. Because
George, I want to tell you, as a mom of three Hispanic boys, they're not boys no more. They're 19, 21, and 26. I am definitely going to get them that book and have it sent to them because they need that. Yeah. And all three of them are in different stages of their life. One's in the military, one's trying to find himself, and one's in the entrepreneurial world. But they're all trying to find themselves. And so this book is going to be a great tool, just like you said, a tool for them to use.
Thank you. And I want to just, we all know Les Brown, right? Right? Okay, so Les Brown
will be on our show on Monday morning.
Wonderful. So wonderful guy, extraordinary life. One of the most interesting things about Les Brown is his story about how the moment that his teacher, Mr. Washington, said to him, don't allow other people's opinion of you to define how you view yourself, was an epiphany moment for him, right? Moments change lives, right? I saw an interview with Ringo Starr. He was asked, how did you become a drummer? And he said, I was in a hospital bed. I was 13 years old, and a nurse came into the hospital and she laid a small drum on my lap. He said, I never let it down, right? Moments change lives. And giving this book to your sons, you know, they will find something in those 182 chapters. They will find something that speaks to them, that touches them. It may be something different, very different for all three boys. It may be completely different than what resonates with you, but something will speak to them, and it could change their life. The book, when I wrote this book, Seize Your Destiny, there's a quote on the back from a young man named Rafael Delgado. It says, I grew up in a broken home, raised by a single mom who had trouble keeping the lights on. Your book spoke to me like the father I never had. Moments change lives, okay? This young man wrote to me out of the blue. I don't know him, right? And this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I want to have that impact on people like Rafael Delgado and on your sons, and on you. You know, I believe that we can all learn from this. You know, interestingly, Aristotle once said, the man who thinks he knows everything knows nothing at all. And one of the things that I've learned is, first of all, the only thing that I know for certain is that there is a great deal that I do not know.
That they do not know.
I know that for certain. All right. Some have postulated.
George, do you have your own show? Do you have because like, you're like, I've got this story, and one thing, and here's this, like, do you have your own platform? Because you could just talk for days, right?
George,
sure, and never repeat the same information.
Weeks,
yes, yeah, right.
Yes, I think you need to start your own podcast. How can people get a hold of you, George? How can people? Do you have? I know you have your Millennial Samurai book that you are giving away. But how can
I'm all over social media. So the things that I'd like you to do, I'd like people to go to Facebook and connect with me at georgejchanos.com. And when you post this, I'm sure the spelling of my name will be there, or my personal page. But that's almost filled. I've got almost 5,000 people. There are maybe like 2 or 3 slots left, but don't try to fit in. Don't try to fit in there. Go to George J. Chanos for Facebook. On Instagram, I'm under George J. Chanos. On Twitter, I'm under George J. Chanos. And then there's Millennial Samurai. There's millennialsamurai.com, which is where you need to go to download the book. I cannot stress enough, adversity creates opportunity. And you need to look for opportunity in adversity. We are in the middle of a pandemic. And because of this pandemic, I have felt a sense of urgency to give away 1 million copies of this book, 1 million completely free digital downloads.
That's amazing.
This is your opportunity. It's coming to you during adversity. And you need to take advantage of it. Opportunity knocks on everyone's door. But not everyone answers. Not everybody sees the opportunity. Not everybody recognizes the opportunity. Some are too distracted. Some are too skeptical. Some are too disinterested. Some don't look for opportunity in adversity or don't think that it's possible in adversity. But opportunity comes to all of us. We just don't all recognize it, and we don't all leverage it. We don't all take advantage of it, right?
Right.
So you have to
right.
look.
I have to stop you, George. We're almost up to the top of the hour. I want to give Alec a chance
Go ahead.
to have like a final thought and a parting thought after he
You have to rein me in.
Yeah.
I don't know. George said everything I would have said. I don't know.
Ditto.
It's all artificial. Yeah. So I guess a final thought. Had a lot of thoughts, but let's see. I would say the biggest one for me is accomplishments are something to build on, not rest on. And I think in life we have and business and personal, but when you set out to do something, first of all, we all hesitate to do things, and so get away from the hesitation and step up and take action. And so there's more to that, which we won't have time for right now, unfortunately. But once you get out, that strategic person you want to call, or that customer, or that investor, or someone that you want to work with, or get mentored by, or whatever, don't hesitate. Everyone just I'm not ready to talk to them, or I got to do this or that, or sun's in my eyes, whatever it is. Just let it go and make the connection, and be you have to be energized and excited. Not when you're hesitant, you sort of you don't necessarily go at it with the right perspective. So get yourself fired up first, and so to get yourself fired up and get that energy in you. Hug a loved one, hold a baby, pet a dog, sing to your favorite song. And everyone asks what mine is. It's "Don't Stop Believing" by Journey. Many conferences make me sing it, which I won't do today.
I actually met Journey years ago. Angel, what kind of stuff do you have for our viewers today?
Well, I want to say thank you, gentlemen, so much for being on with us today. We are in such gratitude. Moments life is made up of all of these moments, and there's no coincidence that the two of you were on the show together at the same time. And I hope that this was more providential than anything for everybody.
And I love how Alec said that it's all about, how you see every single day.
Absolutely. We started this show to be the bright start to the morning as we were all going into this social distancing time, instead of just sitting back and being there, wondering, waiting, and worrying, right? We wanted to be those first responders and be in front of the wave and give that bright start to your day. So hopefully we are doing that for you. I am working with Sharon Lecter. We're putting together our Assets Are Sexy event. It's coming up just in a couple of days. It's on Friday, May 15th. And you can register for free at assetsaresexy.com. Sharon Lecter leading the charge of, you talked a lot about that financial foundation, and having that strong financial foundation. Less than 1.7% of women-owned businesses ever hit that $1 million mark. And there's so much that can be done when you've got that financial foundation set up in place. So register for that at assetsaresexy.com. Find me at makeyourbigimpact.com, makeyourbigimpact.com. And tune in here every morning for our morning show. Tina, how about you?
Thank you, guys. George, I think we need to have another conversation, because I think my boys could definitely use somebody like you. I'm Tina Torres, the gratitude specialist and client retention expert, where I show you how to create clients for a lifetime, turn those clients into raving fans, and increase your cash flow without adding a single new client, helping you build relationships that matter, like we talked about today. And you can get your free 7 ways to increase your cash flow at, if you text the word connection to 26786, and that's 26786, text the word connection. And we are Angel and Tina on the Angel and Tina Morning Show, where we come to you live, hopefully most days, at 10 a.m. Eastern. And we hope you have a fabulous day. Guys, thank you so much for coming on our show and giving so much value to our listeners and our viewers. We will see you guys tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. And we have some special guests that are going to come on. So we will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.